are Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everybody. This is the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, available to you wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer and editor at ontheforecheck.com, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer and editor at InsideThePreds.com.
All right, so obviously some hockey stuff to talk about. Preds take on the Boston Bruins last night and get a win despite the weirdest Nashville Predators squad I think I've seen on the ice in quite some time. Also some big stuff from the past week that we'll talk about, but this is our first show of the week, and I think we have explained on Twitter why it's our first show of the week. Obviously, people here in Nashville are dealing with the horrible situation at the Covenant School in Nashville and Green Hills. And yesterday, we couldn't do it. It just didn't seem right with everything going on. And I know this is something that's touched everybody in Nashville. If you're listening, this has probably touched you in a way as well.
Yeah, we had a conversation about this yesterday, and of course we understand that when something like this happens, it's also great to have sort of somewhere to go to kind of escape how heavy it is. And we went back and forth about, is the podcast something that we can do as an escape? But here's what's real is that for Nick and I, it just was too hard to make that transition yesterday. And so we're coming back today, and we find even today, look, this is a really difficult transition for us to make because so much has changed in Nashville and in people's lives. And it's hard to go back and talk about something like hockey, which we're both very passionate about, but it's hard to have the same perspective we had last week, this week, as we talk about hockey. So first of all, thank you for tuning in. Bear with us as we kind of navigate a challenging day of recording. And also just be mindful. It's just really hard. I know I can speak from my own perspective as a mother who sends her kid to school every day. This is truly, it is the worst nightmare. It is the worst nightmare. And it's not a nightmare that my mom had. And it's not a nightmare that her mom had. But this is my generation's worst nightmare as parents. And as the mom of a first responder, it is also a nightmare. And, we have a connection to somebody who served at the Covenant School after the incident, and just ask you to keep in your thoughts the people who have to pick up pieces and who are trained to heal when they're put in a situation where that's just not an opportunity. And everybody comes from all different perspectives on this. I don't think you have to spend but 20 seconds on Twitter to understand that there are people who feel very strongly one way or the other. What I will say is that something has to be different. And I appreciate and I recognize that we live in a country that was founded on overthrowing oppressive governments, and that part of who this nation is in their DNA, that is a part of this nation's DNA, and it's part of who we are. And that's why the Second Amendment is so important to so many people. But people also evolve and countries evolve, and we have got to do better. We just have to do better. And whatever that looks like to you, I encourage you to take action and we're just going to try to get through the state. I don't know. I mean, we're just going to try to get through this. We're just going to try to get through this.
Yeah. It is becoming a statistical probability that more and more of us are going to be directly impacted by something like this. And, Anne kind of mentioned it. We, here in the hockey, stratosphere, we have room for most different opinions.
Yep.
On most different things. I think there's some hard lines on a few different things, and I get it. Like, we are burned out as a society on politics. Like, it's funny how funny in a very darkest way, how we treat this kind of like a hockey recap on Twitter, where everybody runs and says what should have been done different, and anxiously waits for the results of what the shooter looked like or what their background was, to try to kind of jump and gloat and make a point. And everybody is burned out on that, but I don't think it should be a political statement to say that 3 9-year-olds and 3 other people getting killed in a space where they're supposed to be safe. I don't think it's a political statement to say that shouldn't happen. And Metro Nashville police rushed in there very, very quickly. I'm sure some of you have seen the body camera footage. Very brave, very good on them for taking this down quickly. But the fact is, it never should have happened in the first place. It doesn't matter if there's a quick response or anything like that. One loss of life inside a school should be a tragedy that needs to be addressed. And Anne said it best. It's not political to say that this shouldn't happen. And I think once we realize that this has to stop being a matter of politics and more of an issue of something everybody should get behind, which is finding a way to protect our children, finding a way to keep them out of harm's way, and shielding them from people who are getting guns that shouldn't. That shouldn't be a political issue to want that. And that's my takeaway from this is, it's good to see so many people coming together in a situation like this to mourn, to grieve, to share stories, to share fears, to comfort each other in some of our darkest moments. It is great to see that unity across Nashville, but now we need that unity to keep this from happening again. So, I get it. Everybody is burned out on, I think, the aftermath that happens. But as Anne said, I would ask everybody to put yourself in the shoes of not just the parents who are having to deal with the loss of a child, but other parents who are having to see this every single day on the news and worrying about their kids and this and that. And it's just an exhausting thing. And, there's not much we can do in retrospect to prevent this from happening. But we can do a lot to stop the next one. And I think that's where all of our focus should be, is how do we stop the next one? There's no easy transition out of this, but this is the Locked On Predators podcast. We do have hockey to talk about. Predators played the Boston Bruins last night and picked up probably their biggest upset win of the season when you put a lot of stuff together. So we are going to talk about that in just 1 second. First, though, I want to mention today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. We got the college basketball fans know the tournament is heating up, which means no better place to get in on the game action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And that's because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to fanduel.com/lockedon and sign up to claim your no sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to fanduel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right. Nashville Predators take on the Boston Bruins in, boy, was this one of the weirdest games of the season. And a 2-1 win, an upset win. It was Boston's, I think, only fourth loss at home this year. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. And as somebody pointed out on Twitter, remember the Preds got schmammered at home just a month ago with their best roster of the season, with the roster that they put in before the season to make a cup run. And then all of a sudden, here comes basically the Milwaukee Admirals featuring Tyson Barrie. And and the Preds get a 2-1 win. And, obviously Saros was a big reason for that. But, for the first two periods, the Preds were going toe-to-toe with what may wind up being the best team in NHL history.
Yeah, I was kind of laughing last night watching the game. You were saying Tyson Barrie. To me, I was going with Colton Sissons is the Gladys Knight of, Gladys Knight and the Pips. We've got Colton Sisson in the Pips because, you really have basically the Milwaukee Admirals. I did some quick math with the top 6. So here was the top 6 for the Nashville Predators. You had Igor Afanasyev, Cody Glass, Phil Tomasino, Kiefer Sherwood, Tommy Novak, and Luke Evangelista. The average age of Nashville's top 6 in last night's game was 23 years old. Kiefer Sherwood was our outlier at 27, the old fart. Okay. Yeah. The average number of NHL games in Nashville's top 6, 72 NHL games. Now let's take just a quick little gander at the Boston Bruins top 6. The average age of Boston's top 6, 30 years old. The average number of NHL games played by, per player of the top 6 for Boston, 779 games. That's the average number of games played by their top 6. So you are really looking at the children beating the grandparents in a game where, like you said, for the first 2 periods, the Nashville Predators were going shot for shot with the Boston Bruins for the first 2 periods. Let's be clear.
Yeah. And again, in the third, here come the Boston Bruins. They're like, no, screw that.
Not
We're
today.
Going to put everything we can on net. I think the Preds only finished with 3 shots on goal in the last period, which is probably need to do a little bit better than that.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick breakdown of this game. And so 0-0 end of the first period. Second period, the tie is broken. Cody Glass, right at the depth of the end of the second period, puts one past Linus Ullmark, who, as we've mentioned, is probably your runaway favorite for the Vezina Trophy this year. Gets the Predators on the board. Still 1-0 for most of the game. And then Cole Smith scores the weirdest empty net goal you'll ever see. Kind of the equivalent of the ball hitting Homer Simpson in the softball episode where it just kind of bounces off him and goes 200 feet down the ice. It counts as his goal. Why not?
Yep.
And then why can the Predators not lock up a shutout? With less than 1 second, David Pastrnak scores a consolation goal to break the shutout for Juuse Saros, who still only has 1 shutout this season. Nashville Predators as a team only have 1 shutout this season, despite having some of the best goaltending play in the entire NHL. The Preds seem cursed in that. So Preds win 2-1. Anne, do you have a 1 word to describe this game?
I do have a one word to describe this game, and I will say this. My one word describes this game and just in general where the Predators are. I went into yesterday's game, sat down to do my recap, and literally said, "Oh, we're going to get creamed."
Yeah.
I just embraced it. Like, okay, we're going to get creamed. If the Predators can stay within, 2 goals of Boston,
it's a win.
Kudos, boys. This is going to be one of those character wins, But looking back at how this game unfolded, looking at how this Nashville Predators team played, looking at how Juuse freaking Saros decided he just was not going to give it up. It felt a lot like a scene from Endgame. I mean, we're huge Marvel fans in the house. And so my one word is on your left. In the end of Endgame, you've got what remains of the Avengers trying to battle Thanos, and it feels like everything is lost. It's been a brutal battle. The heroes are absolutely overwhelmed. Captain America is bruised. He is battered. He's down on the ground. He slowly pulls himself up. He has been beaten. He tightens the strap on his broken shield, and he just kind of limps back towards this growing army that's facing him. And kind of he gets this look in his eye like, all right, I'm going to go till the end. I'm going to go till the end. And then you hear this little static in his comms and you hear, "Cap, it's Sam. Can you read me? On your left." And you just see the yellow circles open. Like, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. You see little yellow circles open, and all of a sudden out comes Black Panther, and more yellow circles open, and Sam flies out of one. And so all of these superheroes that vanished in the blip are back, and they help, fight this battle and overcome Thanos. And so for me, that is what that game was. And that is where the Nashville Predators are right now. The Nashville Predators are on your left.
Yeah.
There is no reason for this team to have even been in this game with Boston at all, to be able to match them shot for shot, to even be able to get shots on net. For Cody Glass to get a goal was amazing, because let's just talk about what's real. Linus Ullmark is an exceptionally good goaltender. He is also a walrus in net.
Yes.
Like, there's just not space. That is a giant, it's like 2 Juuse Saroses put together in the goal.
And a small couch.
All in the goal frame. So there was no easy way to win this battle, but somehow on your left, here comes somebody else. Here comes Luke Evangelista to save the day with Juuse Saros as the puck kind of slipped to the goal line, and Luke Evangelista batted it back through the 5-hole to keep it from being a goal. That was last night's game. Nashville is broken. Nashville is limping to the end of this game. But on your left, here comes somebody from Milwaukee going, okay. Just it's insane what we saw last night. Insane.
Yeah. And my one word is something that as a mom, I'm sure you have very familiar with. Pantry meals.
Oh, Lord.
Now, everybody knows what this is. This is like, it's the end of the week. You don't have time to grocery shop. That's coming up tomorrow. Or, hey, you need your paycheck hits tomorrow. You need just one day of whatever. So what do? You go to the pantry and see, what do I have that I haven't eaten? You go to the fridge and say, okay, what half-eaten monstrosities is there left in here? And then what you do is you take everything you have left and you basically become a chopped chef, where you just look at all of these leftover food items, the half-used box of pasta, the leftover carrots and zucchini from the salads you stopped eating forever ago. The questionable bag of mushrooms that's still, there. And then it's like, okay, how do I turn this into a delicious meal? And you just experiment. You put a little things there, throw some spice on it, and voila, you've got yourself a pretty decently good meal.
Yeah.
That everybody can enjoy. And hey, is it the most delicious thing? Is it like eating Wagyu steak? No. but it's fine. Like it's a good eat. And you know what? It puts food on the table. And boy, don't the Nashville Predators seem like a pantry meal right now?
That's
I
so
mean,
great.
you've lost pretty much your entire like team at this point. Anybody left is just kind of an up and coming player. So what you do is you take some young players who are doing good, Cody Glass, Luke Evangelista, Phil Tomasino. You mix them all in with some expanded roles for some of the remaining veteran role players like Colton Sissons and Yakov Trenin and Cole Smith. You just mix it all together, throw some Tyson Berry in there as a good base, some Dante Fabro, and then sprinkle some Juuse Saros on top to make it all palatable. And it comes together in a pretty decently good, delicious dinner game.
Yes. Like here is the foundational component is you've got to have like cream of mushroom soup or cream of celery soup.
The soup is key.
The soup is key.
Any good sauce.
Yeah. I think Juuse Saros has proven himself to be cream of celery soup because he just makes everything a meal. He makes everything a game. And what Saros faced in that third period was brutal. It was brutal. And not because, and I will say this, it was not because the players in front of him, the Predators players in front of him were like, well, we did pretty good and now we're tired. I mean, they were still fighting. But Boston came out of that second intermission and they were flat mad, friends. They were flat mad.
Yeah, and how's that for a storyline too? Is Juuse Saros out-dueled the guy who's probably going to be the Vezina Trophy winner this year. I mean, I would be absolutely shocked if it's not Linus Ullmark, who's the trophy winner. But, doesn't that say something about the quality of goaltender the Preds have when you're able to go out and beat the best team in the NHL, maybe the best team in NHL history, depending on how this last week of the season goes, at least statistically, beat them with goaltending.
Yeah. Well, and so much about this season for the Nashville Predators, when Filip Forsberg went down, you said, well, hey, look, we've still got Ryan Johansson and Matt Duchene and Roman Josi. And then Ryan Johansson went down. You're like, hey, you know what? We still got veteran in Matt Duchene. We still have Roman Josi. We still have Juuse Saros in net. And then Roman Josi went down. We're like, well, we got Matt Duchene. And then Matt Duchene went down. And we're like, everybody, welcome to the Juuse Saros show. Yeah. He is the last man standing. But you know what? Last night, he was the guy we needed.
Yeah, he was the equivalent of the Donald Glover gif where he's just walking in with a box of pizzas into like the room.
Yes.
Yeah. That was his game last night.
That's his gig.
And who or what else stood out to you last night?
I do want to give a shout out. I talked about it just briefly, but I want to give a shout out to Luke Evangelista because he did have this incredible play where the puck went past Saros and Evangelista, and they had to show it in slow motion to make sure that that the Bruins hadn't scored a goal, but he got his stick behind and cleared the puck out to keep the Bruins from scoring a goal. Great move. The other thing I want to say that really surprises me about Luke Evangelista, and I'm not over it yet, this kid is 21 years old, and he is playing with the swagger of one twice his age.
Yeah.
Luke Evangelista has come to Nashville, and he has played for the Predators in a way where the moment has never seemed too big for him. He has not seemed intimidated. Of course, we talk about that great hit he had on Malkin against the Penguins, and he got chirped at by Sidney Crosby, and he was kind of tickled by it because he had watched them growing up, which I thought was amazing. But this game has not been too big for him, and the role that he's been forced to play, he just seems very comfortable going out on the ice. He does need a little bit more meat on his bones. The mom in me is like, for the love of God, somebody carb load that child. Get some padding on him. But he plays so hard. He is not afraid to take shots. I think we've seen some players, even some veteran players this season, who have been hesitant to shoot the puck. Luke Evangelista is not hesitant to shoot the puck. This is a young man who is where he feels like he needs to be, and he's holding his own so well. Great game last night by Evangelista.
Is this last half of the season for the Nashville Predators with all these injuries and all these trades, do you think it's low key been a blessing in disguise for maybe the long-term development of the Nashville Predators? I mean, look, it sucks not having Filip Forsberg out there or, Ryan Johansson, but I don't think you have to be a well-learned historian of the Nashville Predators to know those guys probably aren't playing the minutes or situations that they are right now without some holes in the lineup.
Right.
And, you mentioned Luke Evangelista kind of playing with that swagger, kind of playing a little bit of YOLO hockey where he just gets the puck, crashes the net, kind of sees what happens. I mean, he's got a responsible game, but he's also, as you said, not afraid to kind of step up and be that guy to just carry that offensive play and just kind of drive to the net. If I keep thinking back and it's like, okay, if this were, Luke Evangelista on a call up in December, does he have that leash from John
Right.
Hynes? Or is he just kind of, playing vague third line minutes and the second he crashes the net and it doesn't go well, is he on the bench for the rest of the game? And you have other, third liners playing double minutes or something like that. I think everybody know the situations we're kind of referring to there, but you see a player like Luke Evangelista playing the way he's playing, and you see guys like Cody Glass really stepping up and kind of being the main facilitator on this team. Same for somebody like Phil Tomasino, who played the most ice time of any forward last night. Somebody who's willing to kind of be the main playmaker for this team. That doesn't quite happen without some of these injuries. And I'll tell you what, Ann, I look on defense too. The Preds got Ryan McDonough back, which that's a big thing. But, Dante Fabro, Jeremy Lazan, some of these guys that you kind of forgot about that were maybe trade fodder, that maybe you're not happy with them kind of being in the position they are, playing some of their best hockey that I've ever seen them play in a Preds uniform.
Yeah.
Well, they've stepped up and, there's some things that you kind of wish would improve, like getting outshot the entire third period. But overall, these are guys that you kind of forgot about on defense stepping up and proving, hey, this moment's not too big for us. If you need us to elevate where we are, if you need us to kind of jump beyond our role, we're your guys.
Yeah. If you think about it, and look, it stinks to have as many injuries as the Predators do, but if you think about it, how fortunate, what the silver lining of all of this is that David Poile and Barry Trotz are going to go into this draft in Nashville, and they are going to know exactly what they have in the pipeline coming up in the next 2 to 3 years. They know exactly what they have. And while it stinks that it's come around the way that it has, there is a silver lining to this, especially as Nashville is revamping and kind of retooling this entire roster. Now, here is a question. I got into a huge debate with someone over last night. So let's just see where we are.
All right.
If Filip Forsberg is well enough, and this all hinges on if he is well enough. You never put a player back in before they're ready. But if Filip Forsberg is well enough, do you bother putting him back in the lineup, or do you just leave him out the rest of the season?
No, if he's healthy and ready to play, then you play him.
Thank you.
I feel like that's no question. I feel like the only reason you don't play Filip Forsberg is if he's healthy. Quote unquote healthy, like he's ready to play, but still, kind of feeling the effects of, whatever his upper body injury is, and the fact that, he's come close to coming back and has been skating with the team and has now kind of been put back on the shelf. Probably not good sign there. But I feel like, if he's 100%, if he's ready to go, if he feels no lasting impact of whatever injury you have, I mean, it doesn't hurt to put him in the lineup and see, okay, we've built this good team of young players who are having some chemistry. Who's somebody that can fit with Filip Forsberg next season?
Ah,
You know, we know he's been, lining it up with Cody Glass in the second half of this season, but who else?
yeah,
Could somebody like, Luke Evangelista be kind of the razzle dazzle on the right side of that line? Do you have Phil Tomasino kind of step up and be the other playmaker who's trying to set up Filip Forsberg? It's worth experimenting with, but if there's any indication at all that he's still a little bit banged up, no, I
right.
don't think you can have Filip Forsberg on the ice.
Yeah. I've heard people say leave Forsberg out and let these young guys finish out this season, but I'm with you. How valuable would it be to see who fits with Filip Forsberg? Because Filip Forsberg is kind of a unique player in the Predators roster. Who works best with him? And if you have 4 or 5 games, 2 or 3 games even, where you have a 100% healthy Filip Forsberg, I say put him in. But I've heard a lot of people say leave, just let him go. Don't put him back in this season. But I'm like, let's see what we've got. We've got a really good idea of what we have in these young players. Let's start seeing who plays well off of some of the guys who are veterans who are going to be a huge part of the Predators as they kind of do their reset going forward. So I'm here to see it when he's healthy.
Yeah. When he's healthy. That's
when he's healthy.
Hey, by the way, Nashville Predators once again control their playoff fates. 82 points, 2 games in hand on Winnipeg, who's got 85. Also, 2 games in hand to Calgary, who's right in front of them.
I mean,
I'm not gonna make any predictions, and I am just saying that is the case right now. The Nashville Predators are back to controlling their playoff fates.
I don't even know what to say to that. Except, there's so many, regardless of scores and outcomes, we're learning so much. And this, for as difficult a situation as this is, like we said earlier, this is going to benefit the Nashville Predators looking forward. But it does make a person giggle. This just makes a person giggle.
It has been a weird season, folks.
Weird.
It really has. And tomorrow they play the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Fighting Mikael Granlunds, who are kind of in an absolute tailspin right now as they're trying to fight for their playoff lives. Here's another fun stat. Nashville Predators right now, more wins than the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That delights me as somebody who is from Northwestern Pennsylvania and has survived Pittsburgh Penguins fans at family reunions.
Yeah, Nashville Predators, 82 points this season. Pittsburgh Penguins, 82 points this season. Nashville has played 1 fewer game. The Predators have a better points percentage than Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are in the playoffs right now. Nothing about this year makes sense, people.
Nope.
So let's just all sit back, enjoy the ride, and see where it goes, shall we? Good. All right, Ann, where can people find your work?
You can find my work online at InsideThePreds.com. You can find me on Twitter at ANK_Mama on Ice. You
can find me on Twitter at _NSMorgan for the last time today. You can also find me at ontheforecheck.com. Nick News coming up at some point this week. You can also follow the show on Twitter at LO_Predators. And however you're listening to us, whether you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform or watching us on YouTube, be sure to hit subscribe. That way you'll always know when we have fresh stuff out for you. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back with an all-new episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.